Hey guys, Mike9 here, and this is going to be a really short video because someone may have possibly forgotten to record it earlier on. On top of that, I was kind of relying for this video on the fact that Get Out was going to win the Oscar for Best Picture. That didn't exactly happen. Instead, it was Shape of Water by Guillermo del Toro. I still haven't seen the movie. It looks fantastic from all the trailers and stuff, so I'm definitely going to see it eventually. Anyway, back to the topic of this video. As I said, this isn't going to be very edited or anything like that. But basically, the topic of this video is why Get Out worked so well. Get Out was a horror movie from last year, if you guys don't know. And an absolutely fantastic horror movie at that. And the first time I watched it, I'm going to be honest, I didn't really like it. And I think most of the reason I've kind of started to learn, I gave it a second chance, and I think most of the reason is because at the time I was really focused on the idea of kind of the generic horror movies that are coming out now. Because most of them are really centralized around, that's not the right word. They're very focused on the jump scares and stuff like that. This movie kind of expands past that, and so it's discussing it's more focused on the psychological horror aspect of it, with like hypnotism and stuff like that, where some people could be horribly terrified of that idea, and it makes sense. But they do it so well, and it just kind of you keep on thinking about it after it happens. Also, as you watch back through it a second time, I realized that there's so much symbolism throughout the entire thing. Ways that certain things are said, ways that they're phrased. Everything is really setting up how it's going to end. I'm yet to find any plot holes in that or anything like that. It really was a well-written script, which explains why it won Best Screenplay, Best Original Screenplay. On top of that, the shots are just really, really well done. One thing that I noticed the most recent time that I watched through it is as you're going through the movie, everything's kind of at least a little bit vibrant, like all the way through. And it kind of goes for that style throughout it. Finally, at the very end, once you kind of get to the beginning of the third act, spoiler warning right here, after when the main character is put into the room and he's in the chair. If you've seen the movie, then you know what I'm talking about. If not, then you just ignore the spoiler warning. Thanks for that. I really appreciate it. But so he's sitting in the room, and the part that I noticed that I found really interesting, because I've been watching a lot of Wes Anderson movies lately. That's really why I think I noticed this. But the room is really designed almost like a Wes Anderson set, because it's symmetrical and everything like that, and it almost has like the same color palette and everything that you'd see in a typical Wes Anderson movie. So it's very, very different from the normal kind of vibrant colors that you see earlier on in the movie in different scenes. And the other thing that I noticed was that there are slight changes from that normal symmetrical look. Like there are little things in the background that make it so that it's not quite symmetrical, and it's kind of random in the background. And so I really found that interesting, that it's kind of that range there that kind of, it's not going to immediately make you think of it, but it can kind of affect the way that you're looking at it, so that you're kind of seeing it in kind of a, I said kind of way too many times in the sentence, unedited, but there's a lot more, it kind of makes you, it makes you feel uneasy, and of course that's a technique that anyone uses, but in this case I thought it was a really well done way of doing it. And even down to the scene that's following that with the television and all that, it's really well done in a way that's going to be creepy to most people, but also it's kind of got a bit of comedy to the side of it, where that video is really poorly produced and everything. But that, while it's kind of funny the way that that's done, it also kind of messes with, not messes with your mind, but it just kind of adds a bit to how creepy it is. So if you look through the movie, I think that there are like 2 jump scares throughout the entire thing. One of them I will say was kind of, it wasn't necessarily a cheap one because it was necessary, but it wasn't quite as good as normal because it was just the deer jumping out. But and that's kind of the issue with a lot of movies now, because like you'll see everything goes quiet and just you don't hear anything, and then all of a sudden, bang, it's just this random bird just flying by and it just like screeches and everything everywhere. It just kind of takes away from the effect of jump scares later on. This movie doesn't really rely on those jump scares. And so that's why it's so much more effective and why it turned out so much better. Obviously, there are other aspects of it that helped it as well, but that was really what set it up. And the other thing that I almost forgot to mention, the opening scene, it really does a good job of kind of hooking you in. And then it ties right back into the ending because you see the same mask in the car and everything. Everything is tied back together so that you're not given exactly what happened. You kind of have to infer it, which is also good because when you're inferring it, that kind of makes you think about what's happening a bit more than you would normally, and that's always good in a horror movie. So yeah, that's why I think that Get Out was one of the best horror movies of last year, and it was definitely one that I would have been fine with winning the Oscar for Best Picture. The one that I wanted was Lady Bird, but I would have been fine with Get Out winning, definitely. And now I need to go watch Shape of Water because apparently that happened. I really was not expecting that. But yeah, thank you guys all for watching. Sorry about this being a kind of lazy video. I really should have done this earlier. But yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all next time. Goodbye.